What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? Yeah. I got on shorts, no socks, short sleeves. I come down here, baby. It's cold, man. God dang, it's cold. A chill went through me. What's up, streamers? This is the Music Recording Network stream channel. Shout out to the streamers, man. Hey, every now and then I play a song, right? From my album, man. I dropped the album. I want y'all to see what y'all think, man. Hey, if you into trying to make music, make beats, rap, or whatever the case may be, I can teach you how to make money, man. I got a YouTube course. Use YouTube to make that money, man. I'm trying to tell you, you can make money 4 different ways. I'm trying to tell you, but you're doing it wrong. You're trying to get people to buy your music. Don't nobody buy music no more. Check this out. Check this out.
Yeah. It's Uncle Mike. It's time to make a change. And we are the people who can do this. It's time to make a change. And we are the people who can do this. Yeah, the time is now. We gotta make change. So many things in this world rearranged, but we the people, we can stand up, make change. Break the cycle, flip the script, and let's just change. Change how we educate and teach our youth right. Change how we treat each other, shine more light. Change what we eat, stop filling up on fast food. Fill your body with love, build a new mood. Change the faith we put in celebrity fame. Put more faith in each other, that would change the game. Change how we see clothing, the name on the tag. Don't matter if it's Gucci or just a plain rag. Change how we love so our kids won't feel pain. More involved in their lives puts us in the right lane. If we all stand together, ain't nothing that's too strange. We got the power, we the people, so let's make change. Time to make a change. And we are the people who can do this. It's time to make a change. And we are the people who can do this. Listen, change how we argue, turn fights into peace. Change how we hustle, let the violence decrease. Change the way we see skin, it's just a tone. We all one family with the earth as our home. Change our priorities, give love more weight. Change our directions before it's too late. Change our reflection when we look in the glass. Stop blaming everybody, time to check our own past. Change how we spend, let's invest in our minds. Change how we grind, leave no one behind. Change our faith, not in idols or fame, but in unity and truth, and that's a powerful change. Change our tomorrows by the moves that we make. Change the excuses, it's our world to shape. If we don't change now, then we stay the same. But if we ride together, we can flip the whole game. This needs to change, that needs to change. Our actions need to change. Our laws need to change. Our minds need to change. Our hearts need to change. Even our change need to change. Yeah, our change need to change. It's time to make a change. And we are the people who can do this. It's time to make a change. And we are the people who can do this.
Every now and then you gotta take time out to thank him. Take time out to actually figure out some of the thoughts that's on your mind. Get them out of your mind and get them out to the world. You never know who you're helping from your problems or your situation or your teachings can help people. So that's one of the things we teach in our course, man. But anyway, let's get on to this video, man. Shout out to T.I., his son. You better get it together, man. Trying to be this gangster thorough, trying to show the world how gangster you are, that ain't making it, y'all. I'm trying to let y'all know that don't make it. Judge Shocks. I don't know if this clickbait or not. Is this clickbait? Judge shocks everyone. King Harris released after begging freedom from wrong gang jail incident. What? Begging freedom. Oh my God. Y'all hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell, man. Hey, let's check this bad boy. Yeah.
Why you even letting somebody play with me like that? Why you letting somebody play with me like that?
You already know that when you come to jail, everybody jealous of what you done had in your life.
Yeah.
That's just part of the culture. Like, I wish I would have had.
I just want to say this. First and foremost, there's no shame, no embarrassment in getting packed out, getting beat up. As long as you fight, you're respected. Now, did King fight? We don't know. I'm going to tell you my personal opinion about T.I.'s son, King.
King Harris always preached to the world that he was standing on business. But once those prison doors slammed shut, that tough talk vanished fast. Behind those cold walls, the Prince of Trap learned a truth that fame, money, and family names can't protect you when the streets don't respect you. And now, a powerful gang leader has stepped forward, revealing what really went down behind bars. And it's way worse than anyone imagined. Rumors are already swirling that King's legal team is desperately trying to secure an early release, spinning stories and calling in favors. Some even whisper that certain connections might be trying to pull strings for a quiet exit from the chaos inside. Whether he's truly getting out or just begging for a transfer, the word is clear. King Harris wants out of that cell.
Like, I don't have no gang. I ain't in no gang. I got family. I got motherfuckers who willing to risk their lives and freedom to die by me and mine. You hear me?
You hear me?
Why don't f***ing play with me, man? Don't play with my motherfucking child ever.
Why? No, King changed for other reasons and he ain't got good sense. You see what I'm saying?
Is that nigga not give us a question?
Everybody know King ain't got, you know what I'm saying? He ain't got all his marbles.
I'm the only one on here who got bad-ass kids.
We all go through
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you ain't got no bad-ass kids, you got one and you got lucky. You hear me? Anybody with three or more,
multiples,
you got one that you don't know what the hell you gonna do with.
Because behind the flashy cars and viral confidence, King's world collapsed the second he stepped into that prison unit. His last name didn't matter. The music legacy didn't matter. And that, I'm built for this attitude, gone in a flash. According to a well-known Atlanta gang figure who just exposed the truth, King isn't made for this life he's been glorifying. He's not a soldier. He's scared. And that fear is spreading fast through the block like wildfire. This isn't just another celebrity kid in trouble story. This is a brutal, unfiltered look at what happens when privilege meets prison politics. The illusion of standing on business has crumbled, and now King's name gets whispered in the yard. Not with respect, but with laughter. And before this story's over, you'll learn exactly why one gang figure decided to humiliate him so publicly. In front of inmates, guards, and even people who once looked up to him. It was so cold, so personal, that the entire pod hasn't stopped talking about it since. But before we drop that bombshell, let us rewind to where this downfall truly began. That infamous traffic stop that set off the whole chain of chaos that led King Harris straight into this nightmare.
I'm so, puzzled why King feels the desire, need, want to be considered a street dude that badly. Why is he so obsessed with the struggle, with the life of being a street dude? Street dudes ain't really winning.
You wanted to go over there. You cried and cried and cried when you couldn't go over there.
We done got big house, big yard, nothing to do.
But you want to be from the ghetto so bad.
On the surface, it looked routine. Just another flashy kid in a BMW making an illegal turn. Nothing serious. But within seconds, that routine traffic stop turned into a full-blown nightmare. Police ran his name, and the air shifted instantly. There was a warrant, there were weapons, and suddenly the son of Atlanta royalty was lying face down on the pavement, cuffed and surrounded by flashing blue lights. The smell of weed filled the air. The tension was thick. And King Harris, the same guy who bragged online about when he's standing on business, was being told to keep his hands still or else. That's when the fantasy shattered. This wasn't a music video. This wasn't Instagram Live. This was the raw, humiliating reality of what happens when the spotlight fades and real life hits back hard.
Damn,
Now
man.
here's the twist. King didn't freak out. He didn't scream, didn't curse, didn't even throw a tantrum. The officers themselves admitted he stayed calm, even polite. He played it cool, at least for the cameras. But what happens next separates a performer from a survivor.
Oh, here
Because
we go.
staying calm in front of cops is one thing. Surviving and holding is another story entirely, and that's exactly where the mask slipped. Once those cell doors clanged shut, the whispers started flying fast. The same guy who used to bark tough on social media suddenly looked out of place.
What?
According to insiders, the trapped prince wasn't acting like a soldier. He was acting shaken. The
What?
gang leader's revelation cut straight through that fake image, exposing how quickly King's confidence cracked when the power dynamics flipped. Even the online world took notice.
What?
Commentators who usually defend young rappers started asking real questions. DJ Academics in his signature blunt tone called it out for everyone to see, saying King ass obsession with proving he ass some street doesn't it make sense? Not for someone born into luxury, fame, and protection? Think about that. The son of a multimillionaire, born in silk sheets and chauffeured luxury, still obsessed with proving he belongs to a lifestyle most people spend their whole lives trying to escape. It's wild.
What you want to do? What you want to do? You from here?
Yeah, I'm from here. Yeah, I'm from here.
All right, so. Oh, hell, y'all, let's go. What's up with you, bro? What's up with you, bro? Let's go. Putting your hand around me, talking out your ass like you want to do something. What's up, bro?
Oh, Lord.
What's up, bro?
Nothing.
Relax, or what?
Nothing.
Or what? Or what?
Nothing.
Or what? Because you just tried to go.
This could be a game.
Get about your business, my nigga. Get
I know he.
I think he wants you to peel.
King Harris
Hold up, was he carrying something? Was he carrying something? I don't know. God damn.
This could be a game.
Get about your business, my nigga. Get about
I
your
don't see his other hand.
I think he wants you to peel.
King Harris had access to every door money could open, yet he chose to chase the only one that slammed shut, a prison cell. And when those public meltdowns started, when his mask began to slip, the cracks in that tough guy persona were impossible to ignore. Who could forget that heated altercation with his own father, T.I.? Cameras rolled as the world watched a family argument explode into something way deeper, raw insecurity dressed up as defiance. King barked about standing on business, yelling it again and again, trying to sound like the man he wanted people to believe he was. But to millions watching, it didn't look like strength. It looked like a young man desperate to escape the shadow of his father, desperate to be feared, not fathered. And that right there is why the gang leader's words cut so deep inside those walls. In prison, there's no camera crew, no PR team, no go live button to twist the story. It's pure survival, reputation, and instinct. When King stepped into that cold block for the first time, his last name carried weight. But his own name, it didn't mean a thing. According to insiders, it didn't take long before whispers started circling the pod. People could see it. The hesitation, the nervous glances, the fear hiding behind forced confidence. Word spread fast, and then came the story. The one told by a figure from Atlanta, S Street World, with zero loyalty to the Harris name. This man painted a scene so detailed, so humiliating, it shook even the toughest inmates. They said King allegedly broke down when confronted, that the Prince of Trap folded under real pressure. The description was brutal, and the humiliation spread like wildfire, not just through the prison, but all across Atlanta. The streets were laughing, the blogs were eating it up, and suddenly, King Assy crash-out attitude didn't look like courage anymore. It looked like cosplay gone wrong.
Behind steel bars.
Yes, sir.
There's one in the head.
Does your buddy have one as well?
God, brother.
Alright, just hang tight right here for me. Let me clear this. I don't want any accidental fires.
Why are you riding around with these guns?
No safety.
Dang, son.
And when that gang leader dropped the final word, that cold, cutting truth that stripped the illusion away, everything collapsed. The myth of King Harris, the tough street kid who stood on business, was gone. Up next, we dive straight into what was said, how it spread, and why King Harris is now walking a razor's edge between embarrassment and straight-up danger inside those walls. Because here is what most people don't understand about jail politics. Respect isn't given. It's taken. Inside prison walls, none of that outside shine matters. It's not about how many zeros sit in your bank account, how many designer chains you wear, or how many followers scream your name online. And it damn sure isn't about who your parents are.
Dang.
In those cold, fluorescent-lit cells, there's only one currency: respect. The second those doors close behind you, the only thing that counts is how you carry yourself when nobody was there to protect your image. And that's exactly where King Harris stumbled hard. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered. According to people close to the intake process, the same kid who strutted through social media acting invincible suddenly looked lost. No entourage, no camera, no flashy jewelry. Just a scared young man realizing that his father's fame couldn't buy him an ounce of credibility in a place built on survival. The swagger disappeared, and what was left was a harsh dose of reality. The contrast is painful when you remember how confidently King used to speak. He branded himself as fearless, unstoppable, a young man born to command respect. But that whole image cracked the moment his own mother, Tiny, casually exposed the truth in a comment that hit harder than any diss track. It wasn't hate. It was honesty from a mother who could see through the act. That small moment told the world everything. Behind the loud words, her son was still searching for who he really was. And then came T.I.'s own frustration. A father watching his son crash into a world he warned him about. You wanted to go, but you won't be from the ghetto so bad, he told him. Not as a diss, but as a cry of disbelief. It's wild because King wasn't raised in the trenches. He chased them. He wanted that street stamp so badly, he tried to manufacture it. But you can't fake that kind of life. Here's the brutal truth. Real street dudes can smell pretense from a mile away. They can tell who's there because they had no choice, and who's there because they thought it looked cool. And when you're the latter, you become the easiest target in the room. That's why, when the gang leader decided to speak up, people paid attention. He wasn't just roasting King, he was confirming what the culture already suspected. The stand-on-business persona collapses when there's no camera rolling. And inside those walls, no one's impressed by internet talk. But the reason this story hits so deep isn't just about King Harris. It's about the contradiction it exposes. For years, T.I. has branded himself as a reformed hustler, preaching growth, wisdom, and staying away from the traps of the streets. Yet here's his own son, running headfirst into those very same pitfalls, doing it with a smugness that almost mocks everything his father stands for. It's hypocrisy turned inside out, and it forces everyone watching to ask, how can a man teach the world to rise above the streets when his own bloodline is chasing the very chaos he escaped? This is the same T.I. who once stood on stages and told young men to expeditiously take accountability for their choices. The same man who positioned himself as a moral voice for the culture, wise, disciplined, and reformed. Yet when his own bloodline began spiraling out of control, the image cracked wide open. Instead of a united family standing strong, what did the world see? A father and son screaming at each other on Instagram Live. King yelling, "Why you letting somebody play with me like that?"
No motherfucking way.
Yeah. Your father said you're gonna end up in jail. And you got a son?
What the fuck is that?
T.I. came out there when y'all had all them guns shooting that video. And he said, man, you're going to end up in jail. He said it to the world. T.I. said, he going to end up in jail. Then what make it so bad, I think Boosie was out there with his son was out there too. Why? I don't understand. Why do y'all want to do that? Ain't never shoot the gun at nobody ever. And you carrying guns and all this type of stuff. You're going to end up just like what your daddy said. Now look at you. Look at this.
They got the wrong man, wrong guy.
You already got a warrant. You didn't make it to court.
What the fuck is that? They got drones flying and shit.
And he told me that it was okay. So that's the only time. Any other time, I don't even call the police like for accidents. It ain't even no 911 call with my voice on it. If break in my house,
I can't judge how the parenting is gone, because everything that we've seen has been stuff that many of us would have said or similar if we saw our children do this. But I will say this. A lot of what's happening is because it's in the public. Like most children don't have to.
While T.I. stood there, not angry, just exhausted. It wasn't power. It wasn't respect. It was pure chaos caught on camera. For the streets, it was entertainment. For the family, it was embarrassing. But for King, it was a public warning of what was coming his way. Because in prison, there's always somebody ready to test you, to see if your talk matches your walk. And when that gang leader later exposed how King allegedly reacted to those first tests behind bars, the internet went nuclear. Not because it was shocking, but because it confirmed what everyone had quietly suspected. King Harris was all bark, no bite. The so-called stand-on-business warrior wasn't built for the life he romanticized. But before diving deeper into that humiliation, we've got to talk about the system that fed this downfall. The culture that turned a confused young man into a viral spectacle. Platforms and bloggers didn't just report King's behavior, they amplified it. They made him believe the chaos was currency. Take DJ Academics, for instance. He turned King's petty arrests into full-blown sagas. Half mockery, half encouragement. At one point, he even joked about what King would need to do to be seen as a real gangster. Sure, he meant it as humor. But think about what that does to someone young and impressionable. When millions of viewers are laughing, reposting clips, and quoting your name every time you act out, that noise becomes validation. It feeds the delusion. And for someone like King, who already felt he had something to prove, those viral laughs became fuel. Every time people doubted him, he doubled down. He puffed out his chest, barked louder, and tried harder to prove he was untouchable.
That's what the problem is. You think you got something to prove, and all you're doing is proving it to yourself. And look where you end up.
Clashed with his father, brushed off advice. People doubted him. He doubled down. He puffed out his chest, barked louder, and tried harder to prove he was untouchable.
I'ma prove
He clashed
to
with his father, brushed off advice, and declared himself a man who stood on business. But when those cell doors clanked shut and the cameras were gone, all that energy vanished. The talk stopped. The confidence dissolved. And suddenly, the same King Harris who demanded respect on live couldn't even look another inmate in the eye. Because in that world, nobody cares about your followers, only your fear. And this right here is why the gang leader S words hit like a dagger. Because they didn't just call King Harris out, they stripped away the last layer of his illusion. According to that source, King wasn't feared, he wasn't respected, he was scared. And in the cutthroat ecosystem of prison, fear isn't weakness, it's blood in the water. Once other inmates sense it, the hunt begins. But here's the part nobody is really talking about. The psychological toll of that humiliation. Imagine spending years trying to convince the world you're a lion, only to freeze the moment you step into the real jungle. That doesn't just bruise your ego, it annihilates your credibility. And for King Harris, credibility was the only currency he had left. Without it, everything he built online collapses into dust. Still, this is only the beginning of the downfall, the calm before the detonation. Because in the next phase of this story, everything that had been brewing, the traffic stop, the family tension, the viral bravado, explodes into the brutal reality of what really happened behind bars. See, the thing about prison is simple. Gossip moves faster than contraband. One whispered story at intake can become a full-blown legend before lunchtime. And when that gang leader finally decided to speak, he didn't just drop a few sly remarks. He painted a picture so vivid, so cutting, that even King's biggest defenders went silent overnight. Word spread like wildfire through the block, inmates retelling every detail, adding their own twist, and soon the streets outside were echoing the same tale. That's how fragile his image was. The moment one person exposed the truth, the myth unraveled completely. But before we get to the moment that destroyed his reputation for good, you've got to understand how it started. Because insiders claim that when King first entered custody, he didn't walk in humble. He walked in like his last name was a shield. Chest out, chin up, the same attitude that got him attention online. He wasn't shackled by fear. Not yet. At first, people watched quietly, curious, maybe even cautious. This was TI's son, after all. Some figured he might get special treatment. Others thought he'd try to prove himself fast. But as one source described it, the second he realized nobody cared who his daddy was, you could see the change in his face. The confidence faded, the nerves kicked in, and the room could smell it. That shift from arrogance to anxiety. So when that gang leader decided to tell his story, the timing was perfect. The walls had already started to close in on King, and one man's description turned that quiet humiliation into a public execution of ego. That's when the illusion officially shattered, and King Harris's name went from royal to ridicule overnight. But according to the gang leader who witnessed it firsthand, that confidence didn't even make it past the first confrontation. He said King was tested almost immediately. No dramatic setup, no warning, just raw reality. A hard shoulder bump in the hallway, a shove to see what he was made of, followed by that cold challenge every inmate dreads hearing. You standing on business, right? Let's see it then. And that's where it all fell apart. Instead of pushing back, instead of standing tall, the gang leader said, King froze, just for a second. But in prison, that single heartbeat of hesitation is all it takes. Because once someone smells fear, it spreads through the pod faster than smoke. The same kid who used to yell, I stand on business, online suddenly looked like he wanted out of the business entirely. The irony is almost cruel. On the outside, King Harris had no problem shouting at his father, throwing tantrums on live and demanding respect from the world. But on the inside, when that same energy was required for real, he couldn't deliver. The words stopped meaning anything the moment the threat was real and the cameras weren't rolling. And here's where that gang leader's account gets absolutely brutal. He didn't just say King froze. He said King tried to talk his way out of it. That he dropped names, mentioned who his father was, even tried to remind people of his status outside those walls. Let that sink in for a second, because in jail, the one thing you can never do is lean on privilege. You can't name drop your way into respect. That's the fastest way to lose it all. By the end of that first day, the story had spread everywhere. What started as a small altercation turned into a running joke. By dinner, King Harris wasn't T.I.'s son anymore. He was the punchline. Inmates were mocking him, mimicking his voice, replaying that moment when he allegedly stuttered under pressure. His image as the fearless trap prince was gone, replaced by laughter echoing through the halls. And that's what made the gang leader's revelation so devastating. It wasn't about paperwork or charges or commissary money. It was about heart. The kind of heart you can't buy, can't fake, and can't tweet into existence. According to the man who saw it happen, King Harris didn't have it when it mattered most. But this story doesn't end with humiliation. It gets darker. Because inside prison, shame doesn't just bruise your pride. It paints a target on your back. And once that label of weakness sticks, there's always someone ready to test it again. It creates danger, real danger. The moment word spread that King Harris looked scared, everything changed. He wasn't just another inmate anymore. He became a target. Not necessarily for violence at first, but for manipulation. Once fear is smelled inside, it becomes currency. Guys started scheming on how to test him again, how to push his buttons, how to use that fear to their advantage. In prison, weakness isn't forgotten. It's exploited. And if you think this sounds exaggerated, look at the pattern. How many rappers, kids, or celebrity offspring have tried to walk that same tightrope between privilege and the streets? 9 times out of 10, it ends the same way: exposure. The world sees the act for what it is, and the respect they were chasing turns into ridicule. Even DJ Academics said it best. The confusion people felt watching King try to prove himself is the same confusion the streets felt watching his downfall unfold. But in jail, confusion doesn't stay confusion for long. It turns into mockery. And that ridicule didn't stay locked behind bars either. It leaked through whispered calls, through the grapevine that connects prison phones to podcasts, to gossip blogs, to the internet's endless rumor mill. So by the time that gang leader publicly spoke out, people were already buzzing. The story had spread far beyond the cell block. "King Harris ain't built like that," became the narrative. The fallout was instant and ruthless. Blogs snatched it up, social media ran wild, and memes flooded every timeline. Old clips of King yelling at his father. Videos of him boasting, "I stand on business." All of it got flipped into jokes. People overlaid those clips with captions mocking his alleged breakdown, turning his own words into weapons. The internet didn't just laugh, it feasted. And that's the cruelest twist of all. The very words King once used to build his image ended up destroying it. His slogan became his downfall. The streets laughed, the fans joked, and the silence from his circle made it worse. But a deeper question began circling. Why did that gang leader even expose him in the first place? Why break the so-called code and humiliate a young man publicly? The answer is simple: credibility. Exposing King Harris wasn't just about shaming him. It was about status. By calling him out, that gang leader boosted his own name. He reminded everyone that the streets don't bend for fame, money, or family ties. There's no immunity, no celebrity privilege behind those bars. For that man, humiliating T.I.'s son was power, real power. It made him the one who checked the Prince of Trap, and in that twisted environment that earns respect faster than violence ever could. But what about King himself? That's where the story turns from scandal to tragedy. Imagine being just 20 years old, already carrying the pressure of living up to a famous father, already desperate to prove you're your own man, and then having your lowest, most humiliating moment broadcast to the entire world. How do you even begin to recover from that? The truth is, you don't, at least not easily, because every move after that becomes shadowed by that moment. If King goes online and lashes out, people will call it overcompensation. If he posts a song acting tough, the comments will fill with jokes, laughing, saying, "Ain't this the same dude who froze?" His every word, every bar, every post will now be filtered through the lens of that humiliation. And here's the cruelest part. Even if King did toughen up later, even if he found his footing and handled himself differently in a later incident, it wouldn't matter. Nobody remembers redemption. They remember the first scandal, the first moment of weakness. That's the one that sticks. The one that defines your name in the eyes of the public. And for King Harris, that's the label he's now fighting against. Not just inside those walls, but everywhere his name travels. Because once the world laughs, it's hard to ever make them take you seriously again. That's the brutal truth about reputation. Once it cracks, it rarely heals. In this game, first impressions stick, and when they're negative, they haunt you. For King Harris, that first impression was fatal. The second that gang leader opened his mouth, King's fate was practically sealed. But what makes it even more painful is how perfectly that revelation aligned with everything the public already knew, or thought they knew, about him. His father calling him out for wanting to be from the ghetto so bad. His mother saying he ain't got good sense. His emotional breakdowns on Lev where he screamed about respect, yet came off desperate and lost. It all painted a picture of a kid trying too hard to be something he's not. So when that gang leader described King freezing up in jail, it didn't sound like a lie. It sounded like confirmation. That's why the streets believed it instantly. It fit too perfectly with the image King himself had built. So, where does this leave him now? Is King Harris destined to wear the label of a clown, mocked inside those walls and roasted outside of them? Or does he have one last chance to flip the story, to reclaim his name before it's too late? Because make no mistake, this fallout was catastrophic. The smoke had barely cleared from the gang leader's revelation before the outside world exploded. What started as quiet cell block gossip became the talk of Atlanta. Then the blogs caught wind, and by the time it hit social media, it wasn't just a rumor, it was a circus. Memes, jokes, reaction videos, all flooding the timeline. Clips of King yelling at his father were spliced beside new captions mocking his alleged meltdown. Those old viral moments where he screamed, "I stand on business," were remixed into TikToks with captions reading, "Business closed early." The internet turned his own words into a tagline for humiliation. And the cruelest edit of them all? A split-screen video. One side showing King shouting, "You know I stand on business," while the other played a laugh track with the text, "But not in prison." Ruthless.
Oh my God.
The internet can be cruel, but this time it felt personal because deep down, people already doubted his toughness.
Man, everybody knows this dude, this little guy. Your father has too much money. Your mommy has too much money. And you live with your grandmom. Your grandmother ain't from the hood. How you gonna have how am I going to have millions of dollars and my mother is living in the hood? Stuff just don't sound right. It don't sound. You never been in a fight before. You ain't have to fight for real, for real. You ain't have to fight for people taking your stuff because they don't have. You just, hey, man, he took my stuff, but ain't nobody see it, so I'm going to just go buy some more stuff. Come on, dog. You ain't, everybody knows you're not.
Next.
Everybody knows you're not, bruh.
Ruthless. The internet can be cruel, but this time it felt personal because deep down, people already doubted his toughness. They'd rolled their eyes for months, calling him out for chasing an identity that wasn't his.
Dang.
The gang leader A.S. revelation was just the missing puzzle piece, the proof they were waiting for. But while the internet laughed, the Harris family was drowning in the backlash. The storm didn't just hit King, it hit everyone connected to him. His father, T.I., found himself in an impossible position. For years, he's tried to balance being a rap legend, a family man, and a public example of redemption. He's lectured about growth, responsibility, and staying clear of the same traps that ruined so many before him. And yet, here he was, watching his own son become the poster child for everything he has been warning against. It's tragic irony. The same man who preached about evolution was suddenly being dragged online for failing to control his household. The same fans who once praised his maturity were now clowning him for raising a son who rebelled against everything he stood for. To make it worse, the family's private tensions had already been turned into public theater. The arguments, the Instagram live confrontations, the disrespectful back and forths. So when the gang leader's claims hit the streets, it didn't just make King look bad, it made T.I. look powerless. The world didn't see a father guiding his son. They saw a legend losing control of his legacy. And that's what made this entire situation hit so deep. The story wasn't just about a scared young man in a jail cell. It became a reflection of fame, family, and failure. And how quickly all three can collide when the cameras stop rolling. The image of T.I., the strong, composed patriarch, now watching his son spiral out of control, was just as damaging as King's own collapse behind bars. The world saw a father who built an empire, mentored a generation, and spoke about discipline and growth, yet couldn't it stop his own bloodline from becoming a cautionary tale? And for millions watching, that hit deeper than any diss track ever could. Then came Tiny, King's mother, whose past comments about her son not having good sense resurfaced like ghosts from the internet's vault. Fans dug them up, clipped them next to the gang leader's brutal confession, and turned them into viral proof that even his mama knew. What was once a passing comment from a mother frustrated with her child suddenly became part of the public trial against her family. This wasn't private drama anymore. It was a full-blown cultural spectacle. But the most disturbing part of this fallout isn't at the memes or humiliation, it as the danger. Because once that story spread that King was scared, the dynamics inside the prison walls shifted instantly. Every inmate knew the rumor. Every pod had heard the story. And once that kind of label sticks, it changes everything. In jail, weakness is currency. And everyone wants a piece of it. It doesn't always start with violence. Sometimes it's manipulation. Sometimes it's being pressured to do favors, run errands, or hand over commissary. Other times it's mental warfare. Constant taunting, psychological torment, making sure you never forget your lowest moment. No matter the form, it's all dangerous. That Dodge the knife, Edge King Harris is now forced to walk. One wrong step, and the humiliation could turn into something far worse. The bravado that once inflated his image has become his greatest liability. Because in that environment, fear doesn't just make you vulnerable, it defines your future. And the streets? They don't forget. Even if King walked free tomorrow, even if he went back to luxury cars, million-dollar studios, and designer chains, this story would still follow him like a shadow. In Atlanta's culture, where credibility is sacred and reputation is everything, being labeled scared in prison is a scar that never fades. It's not just a rumor, it's a brand. And now that brand doesn't only stain King, it stains his entire family name. It chips away at the image T.I. spent decades building. It hurts the family's public perception. And it even changes how the culture views every other celebrity kid trying to prove they real. Because King isn't the first to chase a struggle he never had. and he won to be the last. But his fall from grace is one of the most public, one of the most humiliating, and one of the most preventable we've ever seen. The saddest part? It all could have been avoided if someone around him had convinced him that authenticity does not come from pretending to be broken. It comes from knowing who you really are. And when you zoom out, this story becomes so much bigger than one family. It is a mirror held up to a disturbing trend in modern culture: the glorification of struggle by those who never had to live it. Kids born into wealth idolizing pain they never felt. Sons of kings pretending to be from the trenches. It's not street life, it's street cosplay. But in real life, pretending comes with consequences, because the streets don't care about your followers. They don't care about your parents, your fame, or your past interviews. When the doors close and the lights flicker, all that matters is your heart. And for King Harris, that heart just got tested in the harshest way possible. And when the act finally collides with reality, like it did for King Harris, the results are absolutely devastating. The fantasy burns away, and what's left is the truth. Raw, uncomfortable, and impossible to hide. Even DJ Academics, in one of his many unfiltered rants, called this out with ruthless honesty. He mocked King for flashing his petty arrests like trophies, saying it was downright laughable for someone born into privilege to pretend he'd been hardened by the streets. But here's the crazy part. Those words weren't just commentary. They were prophecy, because that same obsession with proving himself.
It does make you laugh. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, T.I. little man. I apologize for laughing, but everybody know this. It's in your mind. You know, I want to be gangster until you get into a real fight. Oh my God, here we go, man.
Hardened by the streets. But here's the crazy part.
Crazy
Those words
part.
weren't just commentary. They were prophecy, because that same obsession with proving himself, that same hunger to be feared instead of loved, led King straight into the nightmare that exposed him. The exact storyline Academics once joked about became King's real-life downfall. Humiliation on both sides of the wall. So where does that leave him now? What's next for the self-proclaimed Prince of Trap? On one hand, King could use this humiliation as a turning point. He could face the truth head-on, admit he was never built for the street life he tried to imitate, and pivot. He could embrace the privilege he was born into, the education, the connections, the fame, and finally build something authentic. Because real strength isn't pretending to be tough. It's having the courage to own who you are. But let's be honest. Does anyone really believe King Harris will do that? Because if there's one thing he's proven time and time again, it's that he doesn't back down. Not when he's embarrassed. Not when his parents check him live on camera. Not even when the internet's roasting him mercilessly. King's instinct has always been the same. Double down. Yell louder. Posture harder. And keep insisting he's standing on business, even when everyone watching knows that business is bankrupt. And that's what makes this story so tragic. The more he tries to fight for an image that's already broken, the deeper he digs his own grave. The gang leader's revelation didn't just humiliate him. It trapped him. It locked him in a cycle that might never end. Because from this moment forward, every single thing King does will be judged through one question. Is he overcompensating? Every lyric he raps, every post he makes, every confrontation he starts, all of it will be dissected. If he talks tough again, people will say he's trying too hard. If he acts humble, they'll say he's scared. No matter what he does, the ghost of that jail story follows him. And here's the cruel irony. For someone so obsessed with respect, this is the worst kind of prison. Not the one made of steel bars, but the one built from public perception. Because when your reputation is shattered, even freedom doesn't feel free. You're constantly fighting to rewrite the story the world already believes. So now the question that matters most, is redemption even possible? Can King Harris climb out of the pit he created? Or has the internet already decided his fate? Because once you've been publicly exposed, mocked, and stripped of your image, the path back to credibility isn't just uphill, it's damn near vertical. And for King, every move from this point forward will decide whether he becomes a man, or just another meme that never learned when to stop pretending. For some people, redemption is possible. We've seen artists and public figures bounce back from humiliation, rebuild their brands, reinvent themselves, even turn scandal into success. But for King Harris, the mountain is steeper, the climb far more brutal. Because this wasn't some random misunderstanding or a bad rumor. His downfall was the mirror image of the identity he spent years trying to sell. That's what makes it so devastating. The exposure hit him right where his ego lived. King didn't just lose credibility, he lost his entire foundation. The very persona he built on toughness, fearlessness, and standing on business got ripped apart in front of the entire world. And in the streets of Atlanta, in the unforgiving world of hip-hop, and especially on the internet, that's a debt you can't just pay off with apologies or PR spin. It sticks like a stain you can't wash out no matter how much fame or money you throw at it. Because here's the reality. Once the streets stop believing you, the cameras stop mattering, the clout fades, the followers move on, and your name becomes a punchline whispered by the same crowd that used to hype you up. And for King Harris, that's the real punishment. Not the jail time, not the memes, but the permanent loss of respect from both worlds he tried to balance. As the dust settles, one truth stands unshakable. The gang leader's words didn't just expose King Harris, they defined him. Unless he finds a way to rewrite his story, that definition will follow him forever. He won't be remembered as the fearless prince of trap. He'll be remembered as the kid who stood on business until the business stood on him. And that's the final tragedy of this saga, the cautionary tale of how one young man's hunger for validation turned into the very downfall he was trying to avoid. That wraps up this video. For more shocking breakdowns, behind-the-scenes stories, and viral exposés, check out the videos linked on your screen right now.
Everybody knows, dog. This ain't nothing new. I mean, it's clear as day. It's like looking at a cat and you calling it a dog. Everybody know that's a cat. All right, man, since you gonna call it a dog, we're gonna just go ahead and this. All right, because we got other things to talk about. You over this joint acting like you straight up gangster, man. I would love. What makes you so gangster, man? You ain't done nothing gangster. You got too much money. Only thing gangster you did was left the house and go live with your grandmommy. Golly, man. Okay. All right, young bucks, man. Look here, man. I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. Hey, y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.